Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you didn't catch it, we end up losing in the conference finals to the Los Angeles Kings, which kind of sucks because we should have been probably the better of the two teams, but we end up getting cheesed, and it was a tough series for this team in general just because we ended up losing in 6 games. It was off to a rough start, though. You could see 5-0 loss in a 3-2 loss, so just barely losing this game by 1 goal, but then the first game obviously getting blown out. Then we won our next 2 games, so at that point I was thinking, hey, maybe this could be the home ice trend. Well, then we lost the next 2 games, allowing 6 goals and 5 goals, so our defensive play was quite inconsistent. Same with the goaltending. It definitely started to fall apart in this round. Our offense was okay at times, but other times it wasn't the best, so obviously we need to find a bit more consistency going forward. Also, it was a tough time for the former defenseman of ours because he is probably going to be leaving us this offseason, that being Tuzolino. In those last 2 games of the series, if we go to actually his stats here, we're actually in his regular season stats, but if we go to his stats here from the playoffs, you can see he was actually pretty good offensively, 10 points in 15 games. However, he did have a very rough last 2 games of the series, which probably cost us the series, so to speak, because he was a -5 in those games, only had an assist, so he definitely had a tough time keeping the puck out in the net. We did jump into this last game in Game 6, and he actually had a puck go off of his balls into the net too, as well, and that helped clinch the win for the LA Kings. So definitely a tough time for him in the end, but likely he's going to be heading to free agency, I guess, because his asking price is absolutely astronomical, and I don't know if there's any way I could afford him without sacrificing basically depth down the road. So there's a good chance that he's going to end up leaving our team. We also might lose Del Monte this offseason just because he's also asking for a lot of money. So I am not too sure exactly how good this roster is going to look next season compared to this year, but hopefully it's good enough. Like when you go to contract extension, you see Tuzolino wants $19.35 million for 6 years, and he has very low organizational interest, which means we don't really have a lot of breathing room when it comes to negotiating the contract. Even if we added clauses to this, it would just only add interest to the contract, not to the organization. Like, we could sell him on our organization, but I don't think there's any way to really get it up to like full organizational interest because he's only at 4 of 10 right now. So I think, yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have to let him walk, and I don't really know exactly what's going to happen in free agency with him. Is he going to get paid by a team that much money, or is he going to get, like, maybe he's going to take less money to sign somewhere else because he has more organizational interest? That could be a factor potentially this offseason. Like I was mentioning as well, Del Monte might be leaving the team, which is not a huge loss, but he has been a little bit inconsistent. He does have a lot of organizational interest, so maybe there's some breathing room with his contract, but still 8 years, and like if we go down by 2 bars here, the minimum we could probably get him for around is still like over 12 million bucks around, so that's a bit of a steep price point for me, so I probably will have to let him go as well, but at least that will give us the cap space to bring back Narena, to bring back Capaduca, and everybody else on the team. So these 2 will be substantial losses, I think, but I think we could actually still benefit from losing them because obviously, like, down the road we'll have more depth in a sense rather than just all these stud players. And like I said, Narena will get elevated ice time because of Tuzolino leaving the team. Like, he'll get more power play time. Del Monte leaving the team will get a little bit more younger guys into the lineup. So I think it's a good idea for our team to let go of these 2 guys. But at the same time, we might take a little bit of a step backwards rather than a step forward, which kind of sucks. But anyways, before we get into the entire offseason, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get into the draft and hopefully find some more good prospects, because obviously if we're going to keep losing players, we need prospects to replace them. So the first and only comment is from Saturn Taku. Says, that was rough. Tuzo has to go, and Del Monte wants way too much for a guy whose career is slightly better than half a point per game. Agreed that Mahalik belongs in the NHL. Ariel Segal should be the AHL eligible now. Make sure he gets into the lineup there. Check your AHL coaches and see if one of them is defensively minded with strong teaching grade to accelerate the growth of those prospects. Take Zhidnik with your first pick. Hunwick should be available in the 3rd round. Otherwise, take him in the 2nd. Turkov would be worth a flyer in the 7th round. So he's already got some suggestions for the draft, which is great. We'll definitely look through those once we actually get into the draft, so I actually remember who I have to pick up. But I totally agree with about Del Monte wants a bit too much for a guy that only wants like around he's around a half a point per game. Like, his career numbers like have been getting better the last few seasons. But he's still not like a super stud player, and that's why I'd say letting him go makes a bit more sense. Like, he had 76 points this season, so he's definitely showing that he could be a great player. However, this is his best season at the age of 27. Last year, he had 32 points in 42 games, which is pretty good, but obviously he had injury problems. The year before that, when we were not having injuries on, you could see like 40 to 50 points, not terrible, but it's still not like worth, in my opinion, at least $12 million. His playoff performance has been pretty good though, 32 points in 45 games. Like maybe he's more of a playoff type of guy, but he still doesn't score a ton of goals. So I think obviously finding somebody to replace him at some point would be good. He's also listed as a first liner, not getting first line ice time, so I could definitely see him wanting to go to a different team because of that reason. And then obviously Tuzolino makes a lot of sense to let go of. So. But he was saying that Ariel Seagull should be AHL eligible now. I don't remember who Ariel Seagull is. That must be an unsigned guy. Let me just go to the unsigned contracts because we've drafted so many random players in this series that I barely remember. Oh yeah, 70 at 20. Yeah, we could definitely bring him into the AHL team next season, former second round pick. I don't know if he's still going to develop much because he's only a medium top 6D, but it at least gives us a bit more defensive prospects for the system. Also, like, we're going to be getting some other low lead help into the AHL, so will be nice that at least the AHL team is starting to get a little bit of more players into it. Kavasha will have to play down there as well because he's a pending UFA, it looks like, too. So we are going to have an abundance of younger guys getting into the minor leagues. Also, let's check that coaching staff quickly because he was mentioning about the AHL coach. If we have, what was it? If they're one of them is defensively minded, which right now it doesn't seem like it. So technically, we should probably find one for them that is a defensively minded coach, I guess, in the offseason. That's probably something we're going to have to look into. So an AHL assistant coach that's defensively minded, maybe make him a head coach. I don't know exactly, but we do have a lot of defensive prospects down there that need some growth. So it probably would be good to get ourselves one for the minors. But I think we're ready to hop into this draft. I don't think we're going to have a super good draft this year just because we're obviously drafting late. But hopefully we can at least get some good prospects, like I said, because like if we end up losing players to free agency and all that stuff, we're going to end up needing some replacements, and it's going to be kind of hard to find, obviously, if we can't really get a lot of growth in our system. So if we get growth in our system, we draft well, we'll be actually a good team again. But I think this team takes a little bit of a step back next season. Maybe not a huge one because our offense, of course, should be still relatively good. But losing Tuzolino is going to be pretty substantial, even though he's definitely wanting to get paid a lot more than the average Joe. So anyways, we are drafting what pick are we at? Can't remember. I think it was probably like 32nd, I think, if I remember right. Somewhere around that point. 31st. Yeah, that makes sense. 31st. Okay. So, what was the recommendations that San talking about again? Zhitnik with my first pick, and then Hunwick should be available in the third. Otherwise, take him in the second. Okay, so let's take Zhitnik with our pick here, which I honestly don't remember really what this draft class looks like, even though it's only been a few days since I've recorded an episode of this. So bear with me. Let's go to Zhitnik, who is supposed to go around that point, I guess, or maybe a bit after even. I don't remember if he was a forward or a defenseman. Okay, he's a forward, yeah. So medium top 6, two-way forward, and he's a gem. He's a left winger as well, so that's actually a pretty good idea because obviously, after losing Del Monte, we will be short on left wingers. He's a 3-year out one, so he's probably only going to be like a 65 or so, but I think that's still a nice little addition to the team, considering he's actually listed as a gem and all that. So, yeah, we'll definitely bring him in with that first-round pick. Permitted there's not anything better when we actually get to our selection. And then he was saying about Hunwick in the 3rd/2nd round. I must have pinned him, right? Let me just check. Oh, yeah, there he is. Yeah, the medium elite two-way defenseman. Yeah, so we either get him in round 2 or 3. That's probably a good spot to get him. He doesn't have the best overall right now, but he's 5 years out at 19, but it's still at least another medium elite defensive prospect that we could hopefully grow into being something useful for the team. And then Turikov would be a flyer in the 7th round. So he was saying about maybe taking a chance on Timofey Turikov with our last pick, who looks like a lowly, but he's supposed to go undrafted, so he might end up being like a low 9 or something instead. But we might as well take a chance on him and the 7th round and see if he's actually a low lead. So I don't really know what else we're going to select in this draft, but let's hope that we can find some good players in it. So anyways, let's take a look at this year's top 5 of the draft. So Calgary at number 1, what are they going to select? Obergauer. What's your first name? Mats Obergauer. Sniper. Okay. No X factors, which is kind of surprising. But pretty solid player. Pretty balanced. No real weakness. He also has good face-off stats. As I was mentioning, I feel like they should honestly make some of these wingers not have good face-off stats out of the draft, because I don't know, it just makes them look like they could be good centers regardless. Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Vancouver. Oh yeah, that's right. It's a Canadian top 5 almost, which is kind of interesting. So the Edmonton Oilers at number 2 are going to select Mendez, who is a 79 overall center power forward. Interesting to see a center power forward because you usually see a lot more winger power forwards, I feel like, than center power forwards. So Zachary Mendez, looking pretty balanced, has good defensive awareness and offensive awareness is the exact same. So maybe he could become like a good two-way kind of power forward option for them. Already listed as a 4th liner. Had 49 goals last year with, what team is that? Trying to think. The Sarnia Sting, maybe? Yeah, that might be with Sarnia. I honestly don't know. Winnipeg at number 3. What are they going to select? Center 2-way forward in Lindsay, 77 overall. Alvin Lindsay. Hopefully some of these guys don't beat us in the future in like a Stanley Cup Finals or something like that. We only have probably around like 11 seasons left of this, so we are kind of running out of time to win a Stanley Cup, which is quite scary. Anyways, Vancouver at 4 takes Lau, who's a 76 overall right-wing playmaker. Interesting. Don't see a lot of winger playmakers nowadays. Has okay face-off stats as well. All right. Yeah, this top 5 is kind of weird because none of these guys have X factors so far. I was expecting at least one of them to have an X factor, but nobody does at the moment. And finally, Pittsburgh at 5. The first American team selects an 80 overall defensive defenseman in Antila, and he's the first one with an X factor, of course, after I mentioned that with quick pick. All right. So that is this year's top 5. Kind of a weaker top 5, I feel like, than some other years we've seen, but it's not a bad one. All right, let's sim to our pick at 31 and see if we're able to snag up that guy that Center Talk was mentioning. But first, let's see what went before our selection here, if there was any good steals. Just some medium top 6Ds and medium 9s and a couple medium 6s and medium 4s. But kind of, yeah, weaker draft, it feels like, for this, which is not good. Is that a Joni Pikkinen? Jukka Pikkinen. Damn, that would have been interesting if it was a Joni Pikkinen. Just because obviously Joni Pikkinen played in the Flyers organization. Yeah, it kind of feels like at the beginning it was a pretty standard draft, but it definitely dipped down here near the end of this first round. Like, if you see medium 9s and medium 6s going in the first round late, I feel like it's just generally a weak draft class. So I don't think we're going to get anything super good in terms of steals, but let's hope that we could at least have these players that we're drafting develop into being something decent. So we got to take Zhitnik with this selection. Is there anything better than Zhitnik out there, out of curiosity, or are we just going to go with Zhitnik? Based on these attributes, a lot of these guys are pretty trash. So, yeah, it's definitely going to come down to Zhitnik, Maroon. I mean, Richter looks actually not bad either. Rick Richter. That's kind of a funny name. 2 years out, maybe. Interesting. But he's probably going to be a medium 9 somehow. So let's just go for the guaranteed gem in Miroslav Zhitnik. We don't know if he's going to end up panning out, but let's take him anyways. Kind of interesting that he's from Slovakia. With the Miroslav, I think of Miroslav Shatan, and then I think of Alexei Zhitnik, so 2 old Sabres guys. But let's see how good Zhitnik is. We'll take him. 64 overall, medium top 6. That's a pretty solid overall. It's better than a lot of these medium 9s and medium 6s, I think, that are going. So I'll definitely take it. No X factors. Pretty balanced across the board. He even has okay face-offs. Like, 69 is not a bad starting point. Like, if we could always make him better at center, but obviously, for now, I think developing him into a winger would be the best bet. But obviously, he's not going to get his ELC probably for a few years, maybe at least 1 year. Hopefully, he gets some growth in the off seasons and stuff like that, too, and gets up to like a 70 plus. Because obviously, top 6 forwards are kind of a crapshoot at times if they actually make it or not. All right, let's move to our next pick and see if there was anything crazy that went before this selection of ours. Any steals that we missed out on. A lot of medium 9s still going. Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a really bad draft class. Medium starter in Hervinen, we did see that guy before. Medium 4, that's a pretty solid steal for Buffalo in second round. Dawson, there's Richter, so Richter was pretty similar. He goes to Tampa Bay. All right. Jazz. Okay, so there is still some top 6 and top 4s, but it seems like a lot of teams are just taking top 9s. Which means, yeah, this draft class is pretty much one of the worst draft classes we've seen in a few years, I think. After our selection, it's probably just medium 9s, my guess. Yeah, medium 9 and medium 6. Yeah, okay. All right, so our next selection here. Recommended. Oh, yeah, we did have Novoseltsev pinned as well. We could take Novoselica with this pick if we're able to for sure get Hunwick next round, which we should be able to because Hunwick is not supposed to go till when? I feel like he's not supposed to go till round 4 almost. 101. Yeah, we'll definitely be able to select again, I think, at that point. Because if you think, yeah, there's definitely 30 plus more picks, I think. Because our next selection, let's actually see when our next selection is, because or else I might be wrong. I don't want to go to draft class, I want to go to draft board. Because I might take a chance on Novoselica and hope that he's a low lead defenseman, but he's going to probably be medium 6, just because my luck is pretty bad with those. But let's see. So yeah, we will be having another selection before that one. Like, this guy's not even supposed to go probably till round 4 hypothetically, so we should be able to just take Novoselica here and still get Hunwick next round. So let's take a chance on Novoselica. There is a medium elite goaltender in Damien Foy, which is also obviously a good option for potential, but I don't think it's something that we necessarily need, either the medium starter to a Sawyer Kavanaugh. So I think, and there's also a low 4 at the gem that's kind of interesting, Pavel Leonov, but he doesn't look that great. I'm going to take a chance on Novoselica. He's probably not a low elite, but we might as well take a chance on him. There's also another medium elite goalie, though, in Rob Belukowicz, who's 19. I still probably prefer more defensive and offensive help than goaltender help. So, Sergei Novoselica, let's see how good you are. Low 4. Damn, I was hoping he'd be a low elite. But low 4 is not terrible, I guess. It's better than medium 6 in a sense, but kind of a good overall, actually, because he does have the same overall as our top 6 forward we drafted. So maybe we could get this guy to outgrow his potential, but at the moment he probably doesn't make the NHL. But if he does get good growth, maybe he does. Because I have seen some low 4s pan out before, and also with like the off-season stuff like that we've been doing, like off-season focuses and regular season goals. Maybe we could get this guy to outgrow it. Because I think even Norena started as a low 4, if I remember right. So anything's possible. We could definitely get him to develop, maybe. All right, anything went good after that selection of ours here. That's an okay steal, is a low 6, but low 6s are crapshoots as well. But I'm not seeing like any low elite steals, which is kind of crazy. So this is definitely... Oh, there's a medium elite steal. Damn, I wish I would have seen that guy. That would have been nice. How old is he? 18 years old as well. Colton Hull. Left wing playmaker. Going to the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's one of the best steals probably this draft so far at this point. It is maybe the best steal. Aside from that, medium starter and Kavanaugh. We did see the medium elite goalies, but I'm not going to say they're huge steals because you see them every year. But damn, yeah, I wish I would have seen that playmaker. Because that would have been a nice little second rounder, but we didn't have him scouted at all, I don't think, so not a worry, I guess. And in Kavanaugh there, Spurgeon, yeah, this draft class is probably one of the worst. Like, we've only seen one elite steal, and we're going to be getting another one here with DeAndre Hunwick. He is 19, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's better than nothing. So DeAndre Hunwick, welcome aboard. Hopefully you could actually develop into being something for us. 61 overall is a pretty solid starting point for a 19-year-old medium elite, at least. Like, if he was like a 53 or something, I'd feel like, and that's not a great selection. But maybe since he has a bit of a higher starting overall, he has a higher chance to developing. But he probably still doesn't make the NHL till he's like 20 plus, which kind of sucks. But at the same time, at least he gives us somebody if we do lose another defenseman down the road. All right, sim to 130 now. See if there was any selections that were good before ours. But who is next? We have to select Turikov, but that's in 7th round. So the rest of these picks are pretty much just going to be up to me and crapshoots. Enforcer, defenseman, and Yip. Okay, interesting. Any other interesting steals? Rick Thomas going to the Canucks. Any steals? B Knights going to Detroit. Yeah, medium bottom 6s are already going. Yeah, this is a tough draft class to look at, to be honest. Tough draft class to look at. But hopefully some of these guys surprise us. But a lot of these medium 9s probably won't even develop into being much of anything. So let's see. After our selection there was Vienanen? I don't know. Vienanen? Yeah, probably something like that. He has low 4 and a low 6 in Parashogun. Yeah, this is pretty trash, man. Okay, well, let's make our next selection here. What are we going to pick with these selections? Probably most of these guys are fringe NHL/AHLers. Like, a lot of them probably won't even get their ELC at this point. We just have to look for somebody with actually good attributes, maybe. Oh, there's some good attributes in a goaltender. I mean, we could take another goalie, maybe just because there's nothing much else. You know what? Maybe I'll take a chance on Brian Jung. He looks like he's going to be a good overall, though, so he's probably a medium backup. There might be actually some fringe starters still on the board and all that, or elite players on the board for goalies. I still might just take Jung just because he's got a good overall. What about Chichu? What is he looking like? Not great. Any good potentials that we don't have pinned yet? There's a lot of goalies that could be elite, but I don't know if any of them are. We do have Turikov pinned. There's also guys like Joel Boynton we could just take chances on that might be low elite. He is actually supposed to get drafted around this selection, so maybe we take a chance, but he could be a low 9. There's also Lemieux. And you know what? We'll take a chance on these two guys, and then we'll go with Turikov, I think. Just because I don't know if I really need another goalie prospect. So let's go with Joel Boynton and hope that he's a low elite steal. Low top 9, as I expected. God damn. For round 4, that's pretty rough. Pretty damn rough. Well, I don't know if that guy's going to pan out, but let's just hope that some of these guys actually surprise us. That's all I could really hope for. That's all I could really hope for. Calvin Hobbes. Wait, isn't that like comic thing called Calvin and Hobbes? Like the thing with the friggin' like tiger and Hobbes? Yeah, it's spelled different, but I think I seen a guy before in one of my series called Calvin Hobbes as well. But you guys probably know who I mean when I say Calvin and Hobbes. I didn't even realize this guy's in the draft. Maybe I should just take him for the meme name. He actually looks like a decent overall, but he is going to be probably a medium backup. But just because he's got a cool name, we're going to take Calvin Hobbes here. Why not? 60 overall backup. Let's hope that he can maybe be the goaltender that could carry his team to a Stanley Cup victory. All right. So there's that. And we have 2 more selections. So we have to take, obviously, Turkov with our last pick. This pick will just take a chance on another guy that could be maybe a little elite or something like that. There is like a French starter in Bendahan, but he's 19. So not really worth it. Let's take a chance on Francois Lemieux. Maybe he'll become like Mario Lemieux. Probably not, but let's take a chance on him. Low top 9 as well. Yeah, this is one of the worst draft classes I think I've seen. God damn, man. And our last pick. Let's hope that this guy that's not supposed to get drafted is actually a low league, because that'd be kind of sick if he was. So, Timofey Turikov, I know you're 19 years old, but let's hope you're a low league. Low 6. God damn. Alright, so our draft was pretty bad. Aside from the medium elite and Hunwick and our first round selection, not a lot of other good potentials. And I think a lot of other teams didn't make any good selections here either. There's a low elite 66. I wish I would have seen this dude. I didn't even have this guy pinned or scouted at all. That's the type of steal I was looking for in this draft. Ty Stevens. 66 at 19. And he's a low elite. Damn, shout out to Utah. That's what we were looking for. But most of these teams had pretty trash drafts. There's another low elite too. A low elite grinder we didn't see. Ian Wall. Another 19-year-old though. Those low elites that are 19 are a little bit of a risk though too, because they might not end up making it because they started at a higher age. But wish I would have seen a couple of those. But in general, I think a lot of these teams had pretty bad drafts. Like, I kind of wish I could see like the potentials of all the players that everybody drafted too, because I'm pretty sure most teams never had really any steals. There's a couple teams with good steals, but I think in general, one of the worst draft classes of this series. So we get Zhitnik, Novoseltsev, Hunwick, Boynton, Hobbes, Lemieux, and Turikov. All right. So that is our draft. Not a great draft by any stretch, but hopefully some of those guys surprise us. That's all we could really hope for. All right, re-sign stage. AHL head coach. Should I bring back Demetrius Like? Maybe. I don't know if he's going to want to come back as an AHL. He's actually okay with coming back as a head coach down there, so we'll bring him back. But we do also need a defensive coach in the minors, so we'll definitely do that when we get to the free agency portion. Let's bring back our scouts here as well, because obviously our scouts have done, I'd say, okay job. Actually, I need to go through this slower. I forgot about the lag between each one, just to make sure. See, it lags. Yeah, there's such lag between re-signing these scouts. So we'll wait again. Sign you. I don't like that they added this delay. It's probably one of the worst things still. And I'm going to keep complaining about it until they change it back. Because I need to, like, actually be able to tell if I have to resign a scout faster than what the game processes it at. Like, it's actually ridiculous that I have to scroll through it slower just in case one of them actually needs a contract. But at least they fixed the resign stage thing. So the resign stage, we'll actually be able to do it on the resign stage. So don't worry. They apparently fixed that so you don't get soft locked out of it. But probably they found a way to break it somehow, my guess. Alright, so there is that. Alright, resign stage. Oh boy, not looking forward to this. $40 million in cap space. Let's go to RFA to start. Let's just qualify. Actually, let's just give contracts to all the RFAs pretty much. Even Peterson, who's not really panning out as a lowly, which kind of sucks. But we got to keep all these guys for the AHL for now. Ackerstrom as well. Take the money. Thank you. And then Zach Hurd. What is Zach Hurd trying to get? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a bit of a steep price for a 79. I'd probably have to qualify Zach Hurd. I do like Zach Hurd, and he's going to be getting elevated minutes with the loss of Tuzolino. But a 5 by 5.85 for 79 is a little bit on the steep end of things, so we'll qualify him for now. We'll go to UFAs. Let's go to the bottom of this list here. Some of these guys aren't going to pan out. We do have a lot of unsigned bottom 6 guys. I'm just going to release all these dudes because they're just not going to pan out at this point. I could bring them back if they're in free agency down the road, but not right now. I am going to sign Kavasha for sure, because he's got some potential. We are also going to sign DeVoe, even though he's 22. He's got low lead potential, so might as well get him in. We'll get the Enforcer in, Patrick in as well, to punch some faces down there in the minors. And then, of course, we're going to get Segal in as well, or Siegel. I think it's Segal more, though, but... Okay, and then we might have to let go of some of these AHL forwards. Some of them might be depth options, though, for us. Whitfield was definitely an NHL depth defenseman for us. He might be getting more minutes this year as well because of the loss of Tuzolino. Let me actually start with the more important guys like Heatley. We'll just give him what he's asking for if he wants to accept that. Thank you. What is Ahinen trying to get? Two-way deal, take it. Bring back a couple of these young guys. I'm going to let go of Bates because we do have more depth defenders down there that are younger. Bure. Those guys are kind of tough. I do want to bring back Capaduca. 3775. Let's bring you back because you are going to be getting elevated minutes potentially. Norena, what are you trying to get? Ooh, that's kind of interesting. He actually does want a clause in his contract, which I wasn't expecting. 3 years at 9.125 with 10% trade protection. I mean, I might as well just give it to you at this point. He doesn't actually have that much organizational interest. I need to have Norena back, so we'll just give him what he's asking for. What about Del Monte and stuff like that now? Still 13.675. He does actually have full organizational interest, but that's way too much money. So, yeah, he's probably gone because of that. And then Tuzolino, he wants an 8-year deal now at $19.275 million with barely any organizational interest. And he wants full no movement clause. Yikes. Well, yeah, both of you guys are probably gone here. I'm sorry to say it, but I just can't afford to spend that much money on two guys. I just can't, because that's over $30 million combined between the two of them, which is a lot of money. So we'll just give Whitfield what he's asking for because he might be on our defensive core full-time next season again. These guys are okay depth options, kind of. Camilleri, let's see, what are you asking for? Two-way. You know what, I'll just give them all if they want two-ways because I can use those as depth options if we get into injury trouble. Bure wants a one-way deal. What justifies that, though, for Bure? I'm kind of curious. Trying to see why he wants a one-way. I don't even know really why he wants a one-way. Zetterberg, what about you? Two-way deal. I'm almost thinking about letting go of Bure because he wants a one-way, but we'll be able to afford him, so we might as well hold on to him, right? But let's go a one-year deal. Let's just jack this up a little bit here. Oh, not by too much. We could drop this down by 2 bars, so probably around this should be fine. But yeah, Del Monte and Tuzolino literally costing $30+ million. Like, they would take all the cap space we have left, basically, to get back. So I think they're both unfortunately going to be gone, which I think makes a lot of sense. But also, it's kind of scary letting go of two guys like that. But at this point, if we let go of them earlier on, maybe we have a chance to find replacements in the next couple of years. If we don't find replacements, hopefully guys like Narena take a big step up this season. But let's advance today and see if these two guys accept. I think Narena probably will accept, which will be good if he does. Obviously, we're getting our scouts back. Hennessy takes the RFA contract. Narena does accept, and Bure accepts. Nice. See, we're at $28 million in cap space, which you think, oh, that's quite a bit of money. $28.425 million. Well, let me go to the calculator here for fun and add what these guys are asking for. So 19.275, that is a ton of money, is what Tuzolino's asking for. And then you add what Del Monte is asking for, which is 13.675 around. He could probably be dropped off a little bit because of his interest, but still, that equivalently adds to $32.95 million, which is more than the cap space we have left. So yeah, both these guys are gone, because we wouldn't even be able to afford to bring back Hurd if we brought both them back. So, yeah, unfortunately, you guys are both going to have to walk. Let's do a little send-off to both of them, even though Tuzolino could kick rocks, because I don't even know what's with his demand. But first shout out to Cade Del Monte, former 3rd overall pick only 9 years ago, so not a long time with us. Starting to get better. Maybe he'll have a good season this year, but just not worth $13 million in my eyes. So, best of luck in free agency there, Cade. And then Tuzolino, this is kind of a one that I was not expecting to make, because I was trying to negotiate with him at the start of the season and he was rejecting, and then his asking price kept going up. 633 points in 864 games. Only missed 2 games in his career up to this point. Really good playoff numbers as well for assists, but only had 1 playoff goal with our team, which is kind of surprising as an offensive defenseman. So, yeah, this is kind of a tougher one. He was a 3rd overall pick 11 years ago. So, a couple of our top 3 picks are going to be leaving the team. And I don't really know if they're going to get paid big bucks, but it's going to be interesting to see what these guys get paid by AI teams and how bad they strap them down in salary cap. So, Tuzolino, best of luck. That was tough. But it has to happen. I'm not justifying spending $34 million on 2 guys. Especially when we're at this stage right now with this team. So right now under contract, is there anybody in terms of unsigned I want to sign here? I'm trying to see if there's anybody I would bring in for the AHL. Probably not, right? Yeah, and there's Ashton, but he's not no, he is AHL eligible. I could bring him in because he didn't get any growth during the unsigned time, but I feel like it's kind of a rush because he's a 66. So I'm probably going to wait on those guys probably for another year, at least. But what do we have on our roster going into next season? Like, what do we have? We have our 2 goaltenders. Oh, man, the defensive core without Tuzolino looks pretty rough. Pretty rough. Mahalik will definitely play in our NHL team next year as the replacement. So basically, we'd be like 86, 83, 81, 79, 79, and a 75, maybe a 78, maybe he jumps up a little bit. And then we also still have Whitfield. So, yeah, defensive core is definitely going to take a massive hit going into the next season. But our offense, we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We probably will have a little bit worse of a forward group as well without Del Monte. It is what it is, but I think our team's still going to look pretty solid on paper. It's just going to be that defensive core. I don't really know how good it's going to be honest, without Tuzolino. Like, it sucks to let him go. We did technically have the cap space to bring him back, considering we could have let just go of Del Monte, but I just don't think it's worth it with how he's played. I just don't think it's worth it. And it'll strap us down in terms of our depth for the future, too. So, actually, Hurd's also going to be on our defensive core, so it's not going to be as bad as pictured, I think. So the AHL coach didn't actually come back, which is kind of interesting. So I guess we'll look for some new AHL coaches. I don't really know if I'll do any off-season focuses in this episode either, because I just don't feel like doing off-season focuses really that much anymore. I'm occasionally doing them, but not as often. If we were rebuilding still, I maybe would do them, but at this point, I just like, I don't know. So, let's go to AHL coaches, or go to coaches in general, and find one that has good teaching grade for defense. Or that's good defensive coach with good teaching grades. There's one with an A-. AHL head coach as well, so we'll bring him in as our AHL head coach. Wojtek Pospisil. From probably Czech Republic or something like that. So we'll bring him in as the head coach. We also do need an assistant coach down there, so we might as well find more of a generalist as an AHL assistant coach. Yeah, probably a generalist as an AHL assistant would be okay. Somebody with good teaching grades. It doesn't really matter if they're a high overall or not. Let's try and bring you in as an AHL assistant. Even though you're asking for a ton of money and you're wanting an NHL contract. Do we need any NHL coaches? No, we don't. Okay. So yeah, those are the contracts we'll be given out to coaches. Aside from that, I don't think there's anything else we need to do really other than simulating up to next season, correct? I'm kind of curious. Actually, let's go to the free agent part for a second here. And let's see who has interest in our top guys. There's apparently 2 teams interested in Tuzolino and 2 in Del Monte. Let's take a look at who's interested in Del Monte at the moment. Apparently, does it say who's interested in him? I thought it did normally. Actually, doesn't it normally say the teams that are interested in bringing him in? Or am I just blind? Oh, there it is. Top team interested, Vancouver. So Vancouver might be bringing in Del Monte, apparently. And what about Tuzolino? Calgary, I'm interested. But yeah, they're both asking for a ton of money on the free agent market. They're 2 of the best free agents out there. And in Ustorf, who we just played in LA, I think. Wasn't he in LA? Yeah, Thomas Ustorf, who was just in LA, is also a free agent at the age of 26. So a lot of young free agents, apparently. Like Macklin Celebrini's there at the age of 31 as well. All right. I do want to actually take a look if there's any unsigned guys or undrafted guys that is in the free agent market. I thought I just saw low franchise. Yeah, I did. Koivu. This guy must have jumped up in potential because he definitely wasn't a franchise when he was drafted. But is there any guys that went undrafted out of curiosity that are interesting? Because we could bring in maybe undrafted players, but I don't really know if I want to do that in this series or not. Yeah, the French started goalies. What about defense? Any lowlights that went undrafted? Naslin's a 72 at 25. First round pick of the Canucks. Oh yeah, I remember him, I think. Donald Lowlight, right wing defenseman, once drafted. Damn, if he was undrafted, I'd be like, hey, maybe we could bring him in, but I'm not going to do that, I don't think. It's still kind of interesting just to see if there was anything that slipped through the cracks at the draft a bit. But usually there's not too much. Korolev, 79 at 25, former first rounder of the Dallas Stars. Lowlight in Scott, 66 at 19. He probably went undrafted, right? Preston Scott. Okay, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if it's allowed in the series for me to bring in guys like this that went undrafted. Because technically it's a draft to glory. So it's only via the draft. But if a guy never got picked by a team, is he free to get grabbed for the team? Because 66 at 19 as a lowly is actually pretty solid starting point. I just don't know if I would do that in this series or not. And I'm probably going to let him sit there and go sign somewhere else. But if you guys think I could do that in future years, maybe we start adding undrafted players to our team as well. Because then at least we have multiple times to get players into our team. So I think that's good. We just need to see if the coaches accept. And yeah, we're not going to do anything with the off-season focus, really, to be honest, because, I don't know, the off-season focus, I like it, but it also just takes too much time, and I also need to get through these recordings kind of quicker, so let's advance a few days, see if those coaches accept, and then it's going to be interesting to see what we're looking like next season, as Pospisil's on board as the AHL head coach. That's the defensive coach, and then Peyton DeVries has accepted as an AHL assistant. Nice. Okay. So we got a couple new AHL coaches. Maybe some of them will be NHL coaches depending on team fit and all that. But I'm interested to see where our former players sign and interested to see how bad our team looks by comparison. I think we're still going to be good, obviously. But I don't know how good our offense is going to be without Tuzolino because he was driving the ship from the back end a bit. But I think having Arena on board for a few more years is nice. He'll probably end up retiring with this team, which is good. But we do need to re-sign Zach Hurd. I almost forgot about him. Unfortunately, we have to give him his contract now. It's not going to cost us too much. Ooh, Kolar's is expiring this offseason coming up ahead next. Oh boy, and Bell. And also Doig. Man, we are in a kind of a tough spot right now. We are in a tough spot. Cashman is also going to be an RFA. Peterson's going to be an RFA. At least they're RFAs, but these three guys are going to cost us a good chunk. Man. Oh boy. I feel like it's getting worse and worse every year with who we have to re-sign. Let's just give you the 3.3 there, Zach. But I'm kind of curious on right now what's Kolar's trying to get for next season. Ooh, man. 12.65. I feel like we should already try and jump on a contract with him. Considering we just lost Del Monte, I think I already need to jump on a contract with Kolar's. I might be overpaying him at this point, but I think we need to have him back. Because or else we're just going to keep on getting worse and worse each year. So I should be able to maybe drop this down by 2 bars since he has full organizational interest. Let's see if we could get him on a nice little cheap contract. He's going to maybe even get paid less than Del Monte does by the other team that signs him. So we might as well get him signed up for... We'll try 10.35 for 7 years. I think that's an okay contract. It's not too bad. And obviously Bell's pretty important to bring back too. Oof, he's not wanting. He's still wanting a good chunk. I probably will wait on Bell a little bit. Doig's probably gonna want way more than he's worth in a sense. Yeah. Oh man, I am kind of scared. And then also Gianta's a UFA too. Oh man, he wants a 1-year deal at $10 million bucks. God damn. Yeah, we're gonna be in a really tight spot here coming up. We're going to be in a really tight spot, like salaries and stuff like that. We're going to be losing players consistently, I think, for the rest of the series almost. Kolar's already accepted, and he says that we're going to be a playoff team. So, interesting. So, Kolar's gets that extension, which is great. He's on board for 7 years. I just didn't want to risk him becoming the next Tuzolino. And obviously, if we would have lost him on forwards, our offense would have just continued to drop off more so. So, I think that's a good little extension. It's not too expensive. And it does make our top line at least under contract longer, which is good. All right, so what do we need in the NHL? Semenov, does he get sent down? Yes, he does, because I think I'm going to go with Harakala over Semenov at this point. So we'll do that. So we got our 2 elite goaltenders. Hopefully Harakala has a good year, because maybe we get rid of Gianna at the end of the season. I don't really know. From a defensive standpoint, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... Mahalik should be up here, as I was mentioning. Yannicki could probably be up here, too. And then I could send down Whitfield and Ackerstrom, but I don't know if it's necessary. Is Whitfield listed as depth? He is. All right. And then Whitfield's listed as depth, I think. Yeah, same with Ackerstrom. I'm going to send Ackerstrom down for sure, though. We do need more right-handed defensemen, though, than lefties. So maybe I won't call up Yannicki then. So let's just do this. Ackerstrom for Whitfield. So we have a couple righties in the lineup. That's not bad. But yeah, Mahalik has a 78. That's exactly what I was hoping for from him. What else we got? Staubitz and Doig. Hennessy's a 78. That's actually not too bad. He might be coming up here. He's listed as a depth forward. Let's call him up for the time being. Actually, I should have to send somebody down if I do that. Which I could send down Bure, but Bure is probably scratched likely. Yeah, Bure's likely scratched, so I probably don't want to have Milosh and stuff like that up here as healthy scratches, so probably have to keep them down there even though they're pretty good. They're almost NHL ready, which is exciting. But I think aside from that, we are good. We might have to scratch somebody that shouldn't be. Delisle jumped to an 82 as a third-line checking forward, so that's going to push probably Lambert out of the lineup potentially, which is not great, but at least losing Del Monte makes that a little bit easier for us. But let's go ahead here, edit our lines. I was not expecting Delisle to be an 82 at the start of the year. As a medium 6, like he's developed quite well. We'll get him actually into the top 6 for that matter. Capaduca could play on this third line. Peterson up here. Kim up here. Doig should be playing over one of these sides. He's actually a right winger by default, so we probably want him on his normal wing, I guess. And then Lambert could be on the right side because he's a sniper. Dag could play on this side unless there's somebody that should play there, which Bure's okay, doesn't be scratched. Nobody at center. Nobody there. Do we have 2 depth defensemen? No, we do actually have a room for a depth player. Lee needs to be put in the lineup for sure, but we could call up somebody as a depth option from the AHL. But I don't really want to scratch Hennessy, is the thing. Considering he's got elite potential. Malak I don't want to scratch either. He is 22 years old, though, already at this point. But he probably... And we could call up Camilleri as the other depth option. Or the other Peterson, considering he's 25. You know what? Skylar Peterson's going to be like the Bure option. So we're just going to call him up as a depth option. Considering he's a 77, might as well use him as a depth forward in the NHL. If we run into injury trouble. But that's actually not that bad. Yeah, our left wing side of things with Delisle jumping up, that's actually pretty huge considering we just lost Del Monte. From a defensive standpoint, I want Narena and Bell together. I want Hurd and Tulipov together. I think. Yeah. And then we have Whitfield and... I don't know if having 2 right-handers next to each other is a good idea. Zach Hurd is listed as a top forward, so we probably should do it like that. Mahalik is a left-handed shot, which is interesting for a right D, so we could probably throw him over to this side and Whitfield on this side. And then goaltending, that looks like that. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah, all things considered, I think this team still could blank the playoffs based on this roster. But obviously some guys are not going to be getting as much ice time as they're hoping for, because Heatley is kind of almost a third-line guy. AHL, let me just make sure the right guys are in the lineup. Sagan needs to be in. Geisbers doesn't matter at all. So let's get Sagan in if there's room. Which at the moment, I don't really see a spot for him. Unless I take Ackerstrom out. I guess I'll take Ackerstrom out. I don't really know, to be honest. We have a lot of defensive prospects down there. And Semenov, Mathers. Yeah, the rest of that should be good. Let's just make sure our top prospects are higher up in the lineup, obviously. So, Caleb Doig probably should be up in the top 6. Corso's our low elite. Lebedev is not our prospect. Those guys don't matter. Patrick needs to be higher as an enforcer because he's a low elite. Perry is a defenseman. Oh, man, we have too much defenders. That's all right, though, I guess. Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. And then defensively, we should be fine having it just set up anyway. Possible? Yeah, okay, that looks fine. And then goalies is good. Okay. I think we're set up and ready to go pretty much for the next season already. I think so. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to do to this team. I don't think so. But George Delisle, 1 AHL season, 61 points, 30 goals last year. Him coming up here is going to be pretty intriguing. He should be getting some power play time, right? Let's just double check that he is. So Narena's getting first line power play. Delisle will be getting second line on that point. Okay, I don't mind it. I don't know about having this much forwards on a power play, though. Makes a lot of sense. It's -3 as well. We could give Whitfield some power play time, I guess, since he's an offensive defenseman. That's the way we have somebody that actually maybe knows defense, too. We'll do that as well with this unit, too. Just because might as well give Whitfield some chances with Tuzolino gone from the team. Okay, so that's all good, I think. We'll take a look at the chemistry and see if the chemistry is actually a good fit with this current coach. Because if it's not, we could obviously change coaches as well. So let's go ahead and look at that. And then obviously we'll take a look at still where Tuzolino and our boy Del Monte signed. So let's go to coaching staff. How good of a fit is this current coach with our team? Out of curiosity. 61. That's not terrible. Let's temporarily demote him. So Wharton, how good of a fit are you? 63. Alright, so he's better defensively, apparently, maybe. And Nielsen is a 66. So is Quincy Nielsen going to be our head coach? I'll show you guys the lines with him as our head coach here. So let's go back and see what the chemistry looks like. Last time I think there was a bit of issues with some things, but let's see how he fits our team. Good offense. From a defensive standpoint, yeah, those pairings don't work that well. We'd have to probably... Those don't even adjust it. What the heck? Yeah, he doesn't work well with our defensemen that well. Like, his offense looks good, but... You know he's a 66. I don't like that chemistry too much. So I probably would not choose him as my head coach. And then Wharton as the head coach. Let's take a look at what he would do to our team chemistry-wise. I feel like we might honestly have to stay with the same coach. Let's see. Wharton, offense looks good. Defense looks good. Actually, not that bad. Power play? Looks pretty balanced. -2 on the second unit still. -3 on this unit. And the power play doesn't look as good with this coach. Either does the penalty kill. So I think we might honestly have to go with the lowest one, which was that 61. That was the one at the beginning. Which is not a terrible option, but would have been nice if we had a different coach that worked better. We could always take a look at some of these other guys. Like, we could take a look at DeVries as our NHL head coach, because he has been an NHL coach before, I think. No, he hasn't. Let me take a look at how he fits our NHL team out of curiosity. Just for fun. Just for fun. Actually, how good of a fit was he, does it say? It's probably going to be like a 50-something, my guess. Yeah, 59. Yeah, he's probably not going to be it just based on that. So, likely Baines will still be our head coach based on that. All right. Final two things we got to take a look at is where our former guys signed and how much money they're getting paid. Like, we'll definitely take a look at Del Monte first, because Tuzolino is probably going to be really, really overpaid. Del Monte is definitely overpaid too, but not as much. So how much? Monte, not Del Monte. Del Monte, where did he go? He went to the Ottawa Senators. Of course, he signs with my favorite team. Let me just remove my face so you guys can see the contract when we actually get to it. He is getting paid. He's on a no-trade clause. $16.875 million. So even more expensive than what we were trying to get him at. Damn, that's a huge contract. How many years? 6 years. Oh my goodness. That's a bit of a risky contract there, Ottawa. Very risky contract. Full no-trade clause for him for 6 years and making $16.875. So shout out to him for securing the bag. But yeah, I don't think I would have ever paid him that on this team. So good luck to him in Ottawa. Hopefully he's actually worth that money for them. And we'll also take a look at Tuzolino here. How much is Tuzolino going to get? If Del Monte could get that much amount of money, Tuzolino might be a $20 million man. Let's see what we got. He signed with the Florida Panthers. Florida Panthers. He's almost max trade value, which is kind of crazy. So that's maybe why he was asking for so much. But signed with the Florida Panthers. And he has a no movement clause as expected. $20.330 million bucks. So Tuzolino, a $20 million man at the age of 29. God damn. How many years? 7 years. Wow. So he's getting paid $20 million over 7 years. So he's getting over $140 million. If my math is correct, god damn. What is that equivalent to? You guys could probably do the math in your head, but yeah, he's making $142.31 million over those 7 years combined. And is it a full no movement clause during the entire 7 years? Yeah, almost. 4 years of no movement clause, and then it changes into a full no trade clause. So, yeah, Bradley Tuzolino might be with the Florida Panthers till he retires at this point, but that is a very steep contract. Was not expecting him to be really a $20 million man. Like, is he the highest paid player in the league? That's kind of an interesting thing to see how they're paid compared to the other players in this league. Because we looked earlier, I think, before how much people were getting paid. But if we go like $11 million plus, let's see, who's the highest paid player in the NHL? Let's sort this by money here. He's the second highest paid player. Actually, never mind. That other one is Noonan when we just gave him his cap whale contract. But Tuzolino is the highest paid player in the league. Will he live up to that money? He's making $1 million more than Robertson. He's making $2 million more than Nyes. $3 million more than Newhook. That's interesting. He's making more than the franchise guy that went first overall. Actually, is this the franchise guy? I think he was, right? No, he isn't. Former second rounder. But yeah, he's getting paid a ton of money. He's the highest paid player in the league. And then that means with that $16 million, Del Monte is also up there as one of the highest paid players in the NHL. Wow. Well, I'm kind of glad we didn't sign them, because I would not have been able to justify spending $36 million on two people. All right, and last thing I want to take a look at is what this draft class has in terms of player types. our player positions. Centers, some defenders. All right. So we might be able to get some defensive help, which is good. But obviously we're not going to be probably a bad team this year. I'd expect us to make it back to the playoffs, but I hope that Tuzolino never wins a Norris in his career at this point, because he's getting paid a ton of money to basically do the bare minimum as an offensive defenseman. He could do a lot more, I feel like, than he was, but now that he's on the Florida Panthers, he's going to be playing with some pretty good players probably. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the season simulation. We'll see if this team's able to make it back to the playoffs again despite losing some key pieces. I think we definitely can, but obviously I'm a little bit skeptical with the defensive core a little bit, but I think obviously having Giunta in between the pipes and stuff like that could definitely help us get into the playoffs. Our offensive core doesn't look as bad with Delisle jumping up, but yeah, I am still a little bit worried that we're definitely going to take a little bit of a step back, but maybe that's what we need, is we need to be a cheese team, and then we can win a Stanley Cup potentially. So let me know down below, and I'll see you guys next time.